Did you ever fear an overdose or death?
Yes, there were several times.
I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Last night we had something. Tonight I'll be kissing. But I don't really have a case. You don't have to mention. You just like their attention. It's written all over your face.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Maeband channel. Today we are going to get a little bit personal.
It's not something either of us really wanted.
We've shared this on Instagram a little bit. We're pretty open. You know, we've shared some things here and there, but this time we've got a lot of questions that people have asked, and we're just really going to open up.
So the other day, I guess it was 2 days ago, I saw that one of the highest searches on Google was addiction and how to deal with addiction, and treatment centers and rehab centers, and it was just like a whole long list of terms dealing with addiction. So
we have some experience with that.
We do have some experience with that. Only for the past like 20 years though. But we're just going to kind of talk about addiction a little bit and how it has affected us and our kids and just family members all around us basically. And just kind of talk about a few of the experiences that we've had in dealing with addiction. There's not a lot of video that I've found that helps both sides deal with the effects of addiction. So like I know when I was going through it, she doesn't understand me at all, and I don't understand where she's coming from at all. Like, you know, we would have these arguments about what was going on, and it was hard to understand each other. So I think hopefully this will be a good video for both sides, and people can see where each side is coming from. So.
And I don't think we actually said that it's you, the one that struggles.
Wait, me?
With addiction.
It's me. Where it started back when I was 17 years old. I used to play baseball and I blew my shoulder out when I was 17, and the doctor prescribed me painkillers, and that's where I began my love affair with painkillers. I didn't become addicted at that point, but I knew I really, really liked them. I have a hard time with just feeling normal. No matter what it is, even if I don't like it, even if I don't like the feeling, I'll just take whatever it is just because I don't like to feel normal.
Throughout our life, we knew he had an addiction problem, and so it would usually start with me trying to help monitor so that he didn't
take too much.
Or money. I'd have to hide money.
But that was later on.
You'd always find it.
Around 2010, it was when I became fully addicted to painkillers. The first time it happened, it lasted for about 2 years. I was addicted and I was taking them every day for 2 years. And then I quit on December 26, 2012. I don't really remember what motivated me to quit that time, and I think it was because my life was falling apart. So I had a business back then, and it was around that time that I lost probably 90% of it, because I had basically stopped caring about everything, well, almost everything, and so I lost a lot of my business, and we were hit financially pretty hard, and that was kind of the motivating factor behind that. So I quit in December 2012. So I was clean for 3 years from anything. I didn't take anything for 3 years, but I will say that I thought about it every single day. So somebody asked this on Instagram, what I used to replace the addiction. What have you used to cope with to being sober? And for me, it doesn't really look like it, but I would go to the gym. That's what I started doing. So instead of taking painkillers, I would just go to the gym, and that would be my outlet to, I guess, I don't know, that's how I would try to get my high, if you will. In October of 2015, I herniated some discs in my neck lifting, and that was what started my huge decline. So that's where it started, was 2015 up until 9 months ago. I was addicted to it for I was addicted for about 3 years to various painkillers. It's really hard to describe. It's this, honestly. So I would go to bed. As soon as I would wake up, the very first thought in my head was, I need to take something. It was almost like a love affair, I guess you could say, because that's all I could think about. If I didn't have it in my system, that's all I thought about, or how I could find more, or I don't know. It's really hard to explain it through somebody that hasn't gone through it. I really felt like a prisoner to addictions, and I don't think you understand that. That's putting it lightly. Like it honestly feels like I was in a cell and that I would break free once I could take it. It was really hard to even consider stopping because of how good it felt. And so like when I would wake up, the first thing I thought, I can deal with my kids and I can deal with my wife, but first I need this. And as soon as I take that, then I can be a better dad and I can be a better husband.
A better worker.
A better worker. I could do my job better because I have more energy. 99% of the people around me have no idea that I have taken anything. So I felt like it was a win-win for me, because I was like, oh, I'm a better dad, I'm a better husband, I'm a better worker, I can get my job done, I'm like super dad. So that's the way I felt every time I took it. If you don't take it, anything, for even half a day, it's almost like a part of you is missing. But it's almost like a part of you is missing, and you can get this part back, and it's so easy. All you got to do is take a couple pills and you're back to normal, and you're back to being the person that you think you are.
I think that's funny, because it's like the opposite for me. Like when you're taking it, I feel like you're missing.
Yeah.
Like you're not who you are and who you're meant to be. You're someone different.
You are someone different, because you can't be the best father you can be. You can't be the best husband. You can't be all those things when you're when you feel like your life is over if you don't take that pill for 8 hours. You know, if I don't have it for 8 hours, I would take it 3 times a day. I would take it in the morning, I would take it after lunch, in the afternoon, then I would take it at night. And if I didn't have that high for even a couple hours, I was a mess. Not a mess, but I wasn't happy. Even having it in your possession, like if I have those pills in my hand, it does something to your brain. It really messes your brain up. When I see pills on billboards, when I see them on TV, the first thing that pops in my mind, it's not, oh, I feel bad for all those people taking pills, which I do, but the first thing is, I want those pills. First thing that pops in my mind is, I would love to have those. If you see the name of those things, it triggers something in your brain, and it's hard to explain, but it just does something to your head, and it just makes you want those so bad, and then you just have to work through it.
How do you work through it?
At first, I haven't taken anything for 9 months. I know it hasn't been a long time. It's only been 9 months. Been a hard 9 months, but again, I'm using the gym again. That's what I do, and I'm not trying to get preachy, but I realized that I cannot do it on my own. That's just kind of what it came down to. I just can't do it on my own. So I needed God to help me out, and so that's how this 9 months has gone. And so it's basically I've implemented a higher power to get me through it, and it's been easier than it has at times, but like I said, it never goes away. I think about it every day.
So the times that you would quit for longer and last, what was it that helped you do that?
So I realized that an addict puts a lot of energy into finding pills or whatever it is that they're addicted to. I finally realized all this energy I was focusing on how to find pills or how to get money or how to do all these things. I realized I was making this happen in my head before it already happened. When I would wake up, if I didn't have any, I would have this whole scenario drawn up in my head of how I was going to get money, how I was going to get pills, how I was going to hide it from Holly, how I was going to hide it from my kids, how I was going to do all these things. But I was willing to do that because the high was so good. And so I've realized if I start playing out these scenarios in my head, I'm never going to make it. And so all these things would start popping in my head, and so I had to actively push them out and actively think about different things. And I finally caught on that my own brain was creating this problem for me because I was just like, I was making it happen inside my head.
So that's actually a technique called visualization.
Yeah, so visualization.
So you're
People use it for good, I use it for bad.
To get your...
Yeah, and I think a lot of addicts do that. I think like I said, I think a lot of addicts do that because they put all their resources into getting a high. So basically what I did is I put my resources into trying to create positive things with that same energy in my head, with that same thought process in my head. So rather than thinking about pills and thinking about how I was going to trick Holly and get money and all these other things, I was thinking about just personal things. I was thinking about how I can be a better person, how I can be a better dad, and how I can be how I can have a better relationship with God. That's basically what it was. It was like, I need to have a better relationship with God if I'm going to get through this. And if I don't, there's no way it's going to happen.
You can't quit on your own. Every time you tried to quit on your own, you couldn't do it.
You need to be held accountable for what you are doing.
How I would cope with being married to an addict is years ago in the beginning of our marriage, when I would find out about Ambien or different things, I would get really upset and depressed and leave and threaten to leave and just do a lot of things like that. When I kind of decided to start making some changes, and I think for a long time I was
focused on me.
Just so focused on him. So I was very codependent on him and just worried if he was doing it. That's all I was thinking about. I was just constantly thinking, is he taking it? Is he doing it? And just always ups and downs with emotions and worried about it. But then sometimes when he was taking it, it was almost like I would get the high along with him because he would be have more energy and he would be nice and he would be talkative, and I was just dealing with him when he, there were so many times where I was dealing with him when he was having a low or when he was down, or if he couldn't have him for a day or two, he would be super angry. And so then when he was happy, I was happy, and I was almost feeding off of his emotions and his addictions. Well, first I decided I was going to turn to God and just start reading scriptures and praying, and I almost made I kind of made a deal with him, okay, I'm doing this, you need to fix him. If you don't fix him within a certain amount of time, then I'm going to leave. And that was kind of my personal deal with God. But what happened is that he fixed me, and he... I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
What happened is God changed me and he changed my heart. I was able to see Bryan as not, instead of looking at him as someone who was doing this to me and hurting me and ruining our marriage and doing all these things, I started seeing him as a person who was struggling just as much as I was, and realizing that he didn't want to do it. Instead of being hurt and angry because when he would do these things or take these things, it turned into hurting for him. I started to see him as a person who was struggling too, as a person, who wasn't doing that because they wanted to.
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to.
He was doing that because he was human and he had an addiction and he struggled, and he, that's his lot in life. We all have our own, no one's perfect. We all have our own struggles, and I just felt bad for him. They say, you can't fight your battles. You give them to God to fight for you. And so that's kind of what I was doing. The
person has to be ready to change. That's just the way it goes. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is.
When I would figure out he was taking it, it was never because I caught him. It was because I would get a strong feeling. It was when I would release it to God and I would really turn it over to God and and realize, like almost be told in a way, that he was doing it and he was taking it again. But it would come with peace. Like there wouldn't be anger in it. I would be told with this peace, and almost told like, okay, yes, he's doing it again. Yes, he needs to stop, and go talk to him. And so I could never talk to him out of anger or fear or sadness. I would never be able to get him to come clean that way. I had to go to him with my arms open and with love in my heart and with peace.
People always say, I hear that, well, what's the thing that's going to keep you from doing it for the rest of your life? There isn't anything. I wish I could say, I will never take anything ever again. I wish I could say that, but I can't say that. I'm not planning on it, but you know, the reality is I have an addiction to something that could take over at any minute.
Does it get easier over time?
Yeah, I think it does get easier over time. Like I said, I still think about it every day, but the first week was pure hell. The second week, hell. The third week, this sucks. You know, and by the fourth week, you're like, okay, I can do this. And then from there on out, it slowly, I don't know, it just slowly gets easier. You think about it less and less. I would be lying if I said there was a day. I don't think there's been a day that I haven't thought about it. If I'm talking about it, and I feel like that's why I posted on Instagram, which I didn't want to do. That was hard for me, very hard. But I felt like everybody who liked that post or responded or replied, I felt like I was trying to be, or like they were holding me accountable for that post. So when I posted it, if I go back to taking pills, all those people, I'm letting all those people down, not just my wife, not just my kids, but it was a weird thing to me. So I'm like, I think being open, it's probably one of the biggest ways to stay off of anything, is knowing that you're going to be held accountable by people. I think that's the very first step to recovery, is just being open and honest. Because if you're lying about it still and you haven't told people that you've been taking it, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to quit. You can quit for like a day maybe or two. Maybe I'm not saying this is generalities, but I was hiding it, and then I would quit without telling Holly or without telling anybody, and that would last like a day or two. Because I'm like, well, nobody knew I was taking it 3 days ago. What's the big deal if I take it again? Or those times that I've quit have probably been a day. You know, I would take one. This is the last day. I am never again taking these. I'm just gonna get this last little high, and I'm never touching this stuff again. I would wake up in the morning, I'm like, okay, I gotta get some stuff, you know.
Ready for some questions?
Yeah, so now Holly asked on Instagram if there were any questions that people have, so we got a couple questions. We're just going to kind of do a little quick Q&A maybe.